The lunge motor pattern is one of the more complex and heavily loaded exercises and movements that we use, usually on a day-to-day, though that tends to wane toward later years of our lives when getting down to the floor and getting back up is not such an easy task. The lunge, though, is the primary movement, the easiest way and safest way to do so, so it is important to keep up throughout our lives. This kind of semi-loads the lower body into a unilateral motion. One leg's doing one task while the other leg's doing a different task, which creates complexity for the brain and more for us to chat about in this mechanical analysis of it. Various ways to do this. We're going to start with just what we call a split squat. This puts us into and the split squat hold puts us into an isometric position where we can start to build up our strength for the lunge. And here real quick I'll be able to show you how you can progress into actually lunging. Now mechanically throughout your day the lunge is going to look very different than what it might be here in the strength training realm. In the strength training or resisted and loaded exercise realm, we need to make sure the mechanics are on point and very strong and secure so we don't wear out certain parts and certain joints. But lunging technically is going to be, down using the motions that we use to stoop, to pick things up, to load into a very deep position toward the floor. The way we're going to do that from a progressive standpoint and training the lunge is starting with that split squat. So I'll show you the angles from the front here first. That split squat, we're going to go a lot deeper in our stance and our base, dropping back than what we do in maybe a day-to-day life. Because we're going to start with training a lot more of our core positioning so that we don't risk our back health, our postural positioning, while we build up the strength in our thighs. From this position, you can see that I have a pretty narrow base inward. I could start a little bit wider if I felt like I needed more security and stability. And technically, we'll cover this in the progressive video, you could stabilize and hold on to something while you do this. You could also help reduce load if that's where you needed to start. Angularly, the hip-knee ankle alignment that we've talked about in squat, lunge, and hinge is going to look very, very similar here. So I'm going to start with my heels relatively under my hips, and they are lined up pointing about the same direction as the second toe. Kneecap also points in that direction, and the thigh bone and the hip angle of the hip is going to go there too. So just starting here in this big, deep stance, I'm starting to feel my lunging muscles, my split squat exercise already. So I'm going to change it to the other side to give you the demo so I can balance things out myself. So from here, I'm going to load down that back knee, softening the front knee, and holding this position. This would be phase one. If I wanted to progress into a lunge, I'm going up and down, moving slow and steady, watching how from your angle these knees aren't buckling to the midline. My back toe isn't situated out. I have great hip, knee, ankle alignment and a good control of this exercise. From the side angle, you'd see that I'm not overworking this front knee and that I'm not arching or compensating through my posture. So again, I would set up and I would find my base of support and find my starting position before I ever go. From this angle, you'll see that my back hip is in extension. The knee is back behind the hip bone. It drops into knee flexion. My front knee does not want to go too far forward over those toes. If my front knee is loading forward, I'm leaning forward and I'm shifting my weight to the front. What I want you to pretend like is there's a wall right in front of your nose, and you're not going to bump your nose on that wall. You're sitting straight down and standing straight up. Straight down, straight up. You can see upper body posture, spine in line, nice and tall. We're not caving there. This, as a body weight exercise, is already a pretty heavily loaded exercise. Again, it's almost unilateral. Though both legs are working, they're doing separate responsibilities. But to load this, you can simply hold some dumbbells, hold them to your side, hold them in the front load. Bands get quite a bit more complex. For me, you can almost hear me huffing and puffing here. 4 repetitions in, nice and slow, and my heart rate starts to come up. The split squat is our first phase into lunging. Through future videos, we'll show you how to incorporate first the reverse lunge. We have lateral lunges, forward lunges, rotational lunges, and we'll build on that.